So welcome. Today we are actually starting a new segment called Business Casual. This is actually a new part of the show that will kind of connect everyday topics in the real world, financial, business, headlines, and we actually will be having John Yates as a regular co-host for this segment.
Hello, excited to be back.
We're excited to get this started. We're going to talk about AI and how it's treated in the workplace. So we're going to basically talk the do's and like the don'ts and kind of like the negative perception of AI and what it really has in the workplace.
Yeah, I'm ready to dive in. I want to start off and say right now we're seeing AI in the news for mainly negative reasons. We're seeing a lot of companies, large companies, have massive layoffs and use AI as the reason as to why. That AI is this replacement tool rather than human aid to get the job done. To start things off, I want to ask you, how do you view AI both in your job and how do you feel it integrates or replaces with humans in 2026?
So for my field, I think honestly, we're still in the financial sector that requires people, although ATMs are, automated teller machines. That's great. But we still, for our industry, luckily, we still need people. And for our role specifically in leadership, I think we tailor and use AI more of polishing up our emails, polishing up our announcements and our communication to our team and industry organization. I apologize. And that's something that I think we should leverage AI in that field. We aren't creating new programs with AI in our field, so I don't have that say. And when you said negative insight on that, I think we would forget that the narrative of AI also destroying our planet is also a topic to think about too. Yes, companies are laying people off in essence of AI, but also I think that's an excuse. AI is also costing us a lot of natural consequences as well. Now, studies did show that our generating a prompt on ChatGPT isn't doing the soul damage, but that perception is also there for polluting the earth.
So that is one of a huge negative there. I'd like to focus in on job security. So AI, it's there. It can be utilized as a great tool to find answers, get things done. But we're seeing large people within the tech sector. I think recently billionaire Jack Dorsey cut more than 4,000 jobs. But he also said AI, in his view, is the tool to cut out middle management. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I do agree on that in a sense of it does cut out some jobs. For example, one of my close friends is actually using an AI. Is it called Manus? I think it generated her an entire website based on some prompts, and she can auto run it in the background as long as her computer's still running. And I think those aspects, like website creator and designers, possibly might be looking at AI as a threat. And I do see it because it's making a lot of things more accessible. For example, this podcast right here. I'm creating an entire animated podcast with AI, and I am going to go into detail on the AI models I am using to create that in a different episode. Yeah, I do think AI is coming for some jobs, but also to get ahead of that is I think these are skills that can be attained by those people too. If you are a website designer and you feel you're going to lose your job to AI, no, AI needs someone to work it. It needs someone to instruct it, provide prompts, provide all these things, and you can use that skill to get that going. You can get that AI skill to not have it replace you, but you control it. And that's, I think, the perception that we need in today's workplace is AI isn't going to replace you. It will replace your tasks, but you can still control the overall narrative of how it's used.
I think you just absolutely nailed it. I think as a tool, it's become our most powerful tool, but it still needs someone to utilize it, whether it be putting in the prompts or deciding what it does, what's the contribution you need and how I'm going to use it. We've been recently using it in our roles, and I don't see it as a replacement tool. I see it as a way to, for my goals or my thoughts, my words, it can help me put it together. It can help me build a timeline for things I want to get done, and I think my output is better and greater utilizing it, but I think me without it can get the job done. It without me will not do it in the same way.
Yeah, it definitely can help execute your ideas into reality. Definitely, that's something that AI is capable of doing. But now I want to talk about the resistors. Do you think the resistors of AI are gonna eventually they're gonna be late to the party, they're gonna be, AI is definitely here to stay, and I will say that because just like crypto, just just like a lot of things during the pandemic that wouldn't have lasted before the pandemic. Like, for example, I was talking about this earlier. DoorDash and Grubhub were not doing well from what my perception was prior to the pandemic. And then when shutdowns happened, restaurants were closed and delivery amplified, those industries boomed. Now, anyone can please correct me if I'm wrong, but I do recall Grubhub really struggling prior to the pandemic. I remember, I think that was the first one to really go like big, and then DoorDash kind of took over that, and then they both kind of ended up thriving because of the pandemic. But eventually, as we resist these things, it does hold you back. So do you think the resistors are eventually going to catch on, or do you think AI, it might be gone in like the next, not gone, but it might not be seen as the full-on quote unquote replacement in the future?
I think that we've opened a can of worms that essentially will never be closed. It is 100% here to stay. The powers it gives us, people are not going to be willing to give that up. We only use it more and more, even in like you're discovering more ways you can utilize it, whether it be this podcast, whether it be at work. It is definitely here to stay. I think that there are still resistors. If you're resisting it for like an output reason, I think like technology, we've evolved from horse to train to car to now self-driving cars. Things are only going to keep advancing, and once they're here, people won't give that up. I think the only thing that will limit it is its environmental concerns, as you had talked about before. But as it grows, we'll find ways to navigate that, or to make the effects less.
I kind of want to double back on the environmental thing, because I feel like I did a little more research while we're talking, and I read that AI isn't the sole crusher. It's kind of like there's other stuff, there's oil, there's fossil fuels, there's pollution, littering, the dumping in our oceans. Like, yeah, AI is, I think, equivalent to those from what I'm reading. But it's easy to put the boogeyman mask on AI because of the other fears that people are putting on it as well. Like, what you said earlier with the layoffs and stuff like that. But I do think those companies, a lot of them are regretting those layoffs. But also I do think some companies are masking layoffs and blaming AI.
I think it's really easy, especially now where it's still newer and you can just use AI as a reason for a lot of things, for successes, for failures. It's just, AI. And people go, it's this wondrous word that we don't quite fully understand, so you can get away with that. We laid off 30,000 people because of AI. And that's just accepted as an answer for 30,000 people losing their jobs, losing their financial security. So I think as we people have a better understanding of its capabilities, what it truly is, that will no longer be able to be just this blanket excuse for doing anything.
Well, actually, so I have a post from my LinkedIn that I'm going to reference here, and it talks about AI and how the thought of it is cheating, it's making us dumber. And I put in my post an argument saying, like, did we say the same thing when calculators were introduced? Because calculators simplify majority of simple math, and some calculators even simplify complex math equations. And so is AI our calculator of this generation? Like, we normalize calculators, we normalize these equipments, because I think when we were in school, they portrayed it like, when you get to college, you won't have a calculator on hand, you won't have this, they'll teach you. I'm like, and then when I got to college, they were like the most laid back teachers. Like, I got a calculator, everything was open book, like it was very like, and then we get to the workforce. In the workforce, you're not really getting tested with, like, everything's open book, because that makes no sense of making it. I understand the concept of learning based on memory and stuff like that. I get it, but in reality, I think school, what was taught to us, and as we were transitioning in the decades, because we are 90s babies, and we were introduced to the internet, we were introduced to social media, we were the beginning steps of these things. I think AI is just a part of this transition of where our generation is going. Although I don't like, and I don't know, I'm not going to look up the statistics of our generation's intelligence, because I have peeped how that has somewhat declined, maybe. I don't know.
I'm really glad you brought up education. I think it's so important for the foundations, the building blocks of schooling to be done without AI, or necessarily without children using AI to research the problem, because that can just be abused by, found the answer, I'm just going to put it on paper or put it into the system as my answer without any other thought for how to get to the answer. So I think while your brain is still learning to problem solve, the foundations of figuring out an answer, that should be done just to build the neurons, the new connections within the brain so that you're wired to find solutions. And once that's done, I don't know exactly when, but then I understand the solution that I'm aiming to get. I understand like the questions to ask to get answers to build the answer in the end. And that's when AI can definitely be utilized. I've been starting to study for the the GMAT, not the GRE, but that's very math intensive. And I'll use AI for questions where I'm not sure how to establish the problem or how to set it up. And it's really helpful. And again, if I were to just take every question I didn't know, pull the final answer from ChatGPT and just plug it in, when it comes to actually taking the GMAT, I'm going to be struggling. But as long as you truthfully look at what it's giving you, showing the work and learning how to build that yourself, I think AI is incredible.
So just to close this up, so AI isn't the threat. Basically, being unwilling to adapt to it is.
Yeah, I think it's there to be used as a tool. And right now is the time to, if you're uncomfortable with it, get comfortable with it now. That way you're ahead of the curve.
Well, I guess that wraps up this topic. And if we decide to go into more deeper topics, we'll definitely bring it up in future episodes.